Press record.
All right. Welcome back to the SCR podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim Fournier, alongside co-host Ian Meek Mills.
How we doing, folks? How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the little SCR show, you know?
Hell yeah. So today we're going to be going over the AFC South. You got that pulled up, Ian? Do you want to? So last year, I guess we'll just start like this. Last year, AFC South results. First place, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9-8. Titans at 7-10. Colts 4-12-1. Texans 3-13-1. Do you want to go team by team, Ian, or do you want to talk about general broad topics?
We'll go general broad topic real quick. I mean, Jags are obviously the favorite. I would argue, I'm not arguing. I think everyone knows that they're the favorite in this division. But I'm not like sold on any of these teams. Like if you told me, for certain that Jags win the division, I definitely there's doubt there. If you tell me, oh, Titans winning 3 games, just you know what I mean? Like I just feel like there's a lot of outcomes with this team with this division where I could see. I don't want to be like anyone could win the division, but look, crazier things have happened. Um, but yeah, I mean, Jags are obviously the favorites, but I think the Colts and the Texans and the Titans all have very interesting. I don't know, a very very interesting, I guess, cases you could make for them to kind of make a push and get 8-9 wins this season.
Yeah, the way I see it is the Jags and Titans, I honestly think are very close. And I think people don't are sleeping on the Titans because it kind of seems like they were dead in the water after last year and Tannehill got hurt. Mike Vrabel is an amazing coach, and they have such a high floor. And Tannehill's coming back, and now they got Hopkins, and I think they got another year of good play in them. I think they're actually very close, but the Jaguars have such a higher ceiling. Like
Yeah,
obviously, Trevor Lawrence takes builds off of the second half of last year where he was playing like a top 5-10 quarterback. If he builds off of that and takes another jump, the Jags are the only team in this division that could take that jump into the Super Bowl bubble. But I think the Titans have a higher floor. This Jags team is a year and a half removed from being the worst team in the NFL.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. They were bad
The
to start. They
offensive
were really
line,
bad to start the year last year.
right? They were not good,
Yeah,
and they were so good down the stretch. And first half of that Chargers game, you were kind of like, this team just isn't that good. Trevor Lawrence making mistakes, blah blah blah. So that's my biggest take on the division. What do you feel about the two rookie quarterbacks in this division on their success for this season and going forward? Who do you like more, Richardson or
uh,
Stroud? And
so
you're allowed to factor in situation.
yeah, sure. I mean, well, I'll break down the two of them real quick. I mean, Anthony Richardson getting the start right away. I don't think it was a surprise, but there's definitely like, there was a chance that Gardner Minshew was going to get that start. I think it's good that Anthony Richardson's kind of getting, so to speak, thrown in the fire.
I
Um,
agree.
just because, I feel like if you're going to be a good quarterback, like sitting for 6 games while Gardner Minshew goes 2-4 doesn't, I don't think it's going to really help
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson long term. But who do I prefer? I mean, Anthony Richardson, like watching him, like there was obviously the comparisons to Josh Allen, Cam Newton. It's like he is in physically incredibly gifted, and then you know his accuracy, there are issues with it essentially in terms of his consistency. But I almost like that more in a rookie quarterback. And I think maybe that's been blinded by the fact of like looking at guys like Josh Allen who kind of figured it out. And I think Anthony Richardson, watching him against the Bills this past preseason game, week 1 of the preseason, there were enough flashes in like the quarter that he played where I was like, oh, he's gonna be an animal. I think the big thing too is that the Colts are gonna run the ball a lot, and Anthony
Mhm.
Richardson is gonna be a huge part of that. Um,
100%. I
and
saw him run over a DB. He had another big run down the sideline that he
yeah,
like lost his footing when he was going to dive for the pylon. Um, to your point, I 100% agree that like throwing him in the fire is the best thing for him, especially because of how little football he's played. Like he played for one full year at Florida, like starting a quarterback. Like he hasn't played that much football. He just needs like game reps. I think that's what you're really seeing with Trey Lance at this point. It's like he didn't play a lot of high school football. He played 1 year in one game at North Dakota State, and then he sat, and then he got hurt. And now all of a sudden, because he's been in the league for 2 full years, going on to his third, everyone expects him to have like progressed, but he hasn't played enough football to. There's like some tweet I saw from like Sam Monson, I think. He's played like 300 snaps. Like his last like the amount of football he has played since high school, snap wise, is less than Geno Smith took just last year.
yeah,
Like that is nuts.
that is insane.
Like
That
he
is
just hasn't played enough, and Richardson's in the same boat. I do think there is some benefit to certain types of quarterback sitting, and it's like dependent on situation too. Like Lance, obviously there was Garoppolo, and they were in like a Super Bowl bubble. But are you always in the camp of no matter what, they should start week one?
no, definitely not like any, you know what I mean? Like I look back at some guys' careers, like Josh Allen was supposed to be benched behind Nate Peterman, which in retrospect was a dumb idea. But it happens. Like I could have seen him benefiting from being behind like Tyrod Taylor for a couple of games, just kind of learning because it is like when you're out of college, like Wyoming, getting up to that speed, like it's gonna be ugly. But I don't know if I'm like, it always necessarily has to happen. But I think now and it's different because we saw Carson Palmer like what 15 20 years ago. He didn't play a single snap his rookie season. He was the first overall draft pick. That's because he was signed to a 7-year contract. These guys have 4 years. Teams have to know if you're the guy after 3 years, so they need to see every single game that they can see before they agree to that fifth option.
Yeah.
And
It's like
so it's different now where I can see, hey, if you're a team and you want to make decisions, especially with the Colts and the Texans, where they're not really worried about winning. Um, yeah, throw Anthony Richardson in, like, unless it gets to a point where the O line is horrible, like the O line's going to get him hurt, or the receiving group is so bad that his confidence is going to be just like -10. You know what I mean? Like where I don't see it, like both of these, rosters, I think are competent enough to support both Richardson and Stroud. So I don't think either of those are really an issue. So I think it makes sense to just throw them in the fire. But yeah, I do understand that, like, hey, if your O line is like David Carr, his entire career, what he was sacked 80 times in a season, something crazy like that. And then was never the same. I can understand why you would not start a guy right away if you have control of him for 7 years and things like that. But that's not
I
the
feel like with Richardson too, when you're that like physically gifted and like you have always in the back of your pocket, I can take off and run for 4 yards and fall forward. Like he's not gonna be just like every single play is like sack pick, like
right.
just has like that baseline. But it's like, do you think Zach Wilson would have benefited from sitting for a year? Like, or was he just gonna bust no matter what? Is it just completely case by case? Then there's players like Baker who took 10 million snaps in college, and then I think he sat for 2 games, right? Or was it
Something like
one
that. Yeah, he didn't start right
game and
away.
a half, maybe?
Tyrod did
Didn't
start.
he like come in
Tyrod
against
got
the
hurt.
Jets and win something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, Tyrod played against the Saints, had the game of his life, and then got hurt.
Yeah, it was something like that. So I don't know. Like, I don't know if they should just always be thrust in and learn. I do feel like it's almost better to do that just because of the expectations that come with year two. It's like, oh, this guy's been sitting for a while. Like, he's got to be good now. And then if they're not, it's like, oh my God, this guy sucks. But if they aren't very good their rookie year, it's like, okay, they're a rookie. And then you can still have that hope going into year two.
Right.
Like, the Texans have a capable quarterback in Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Should they be sitting Stroud?
I
Do you
don't think
think?
so. I think again, I think it sort of goes back to what we were just talking about with CJ Stroud. I mean, he played, we saw him play in huge games in college. Not to say like he's not ready. I think he is ready. And also I want to like as I was mentioning earlier, when you're considering benching a rookie quarterback, I think it has to do with two things: injury and confidence. And a lot of that has to be with, as I was mentioning, the O line and the receivers around him. Looking at the Texans, like they have a very competent offensive line. Like Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil are like a good starting tackle group. And then looking at their actual, around him, like obviously Damian Pierce was like at times electric last year, kind of disappeared in other times, but Devin Singletary, like we've sort of talked about him. He's just like he is what he is. He's like a competent running back who's going to get you, you know, 4 yards a carry, probably just maybe a little under that. I don't know what his career average is, but you know what I'm saying. And then looking
Mm,
at receivers like Robert Woods, I can't think, or maybe I can't really think of a better receiver to kind of lead a young group and maybe a young quarterback. Like Robert Woods, great pass blocker, great slot receiver. Obviously, he's probably on the decline of his career at this point, but considering how much, like outside of like the upper echelon of guys like Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, like I'm talking about like guys you can get off the free agent market. Like Robert Woods is
yeah, it's just like a
great,
mentor, like solid veteran to like follow in the footsteps.
and then Dalton Schultz is, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a career year this year.
I think he's sneaky in fantasy, honestly. I feel like
Yeah,
he's just gonna get peppered with like rookie like check down targets, and if you're playing in like PPR, he'll have a lot of games with like 6 catches for 40 yards and get you 10 points.
yeah. So yeah, my point is that with a guy like CJ Stroud, I again Davis Mills, again, you mentioned he's a competent quarterback, probably be a career backup. I don't see why you would start him over CJ Stroud at this point.
Yeah. One more note on the Texans weapons. I absolutely love rookie Houston wide receiver Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Very tiny, absolute professional at getting open. Random note on that. And he was amazing in the first preseason game. But as I'm thinking through this in my head, I think the only time it makes sense to sit a rookie is when they have a low baseline
Okay.
and it could just be like a disaster. So someone you see like it could potentially be working out for, obviously worked out for Patrick Mahomes, and you're seeing Jordan Love now. Maybe because they're so like erratic with their play style that if they got thrown in week one just into the fire, it could have been like doomsday, and their baseline is so low because of they needed some time to learn to read defenses and stuff like that. And they don't have that elite rushing ability to fall back on. Like Lamar Jackson was not a good thrower of the football his rookie year, but he ran for like 800 yards in like 6 games. Like there was that baseline.
Yeah.
Stroud, I think, has that baseline in terms of his development as a passer, and he started for 2 years,
Yeah.
I believe, right?
Yeah.
So he had enough like snaps, I think, and a high enough baseline. Um, so it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. If you had to order, who do you think is better out of the Texans or Colts?
I want to say I have more faith in the Texans this year. And
I think Richardson is going to have a better rookie season
right, I agree
just
with
because of
that.
the rushing baseline.
I think it depends on what happens with Jonathan Taylor a little bit. Um,
Very true.
but I kind of like the Texans, it was kind of a couple years ago when I want to say it was the year Tyrod might have been on the Texans. Where it was like, oh, these guys aren't going to win a game. And I think they went like 5-11, 5-12, something like that, where they picked up wins. It's kind of like when you have enough like guys on your team, like enough vets on your team, you're going to get wins because guys know how to play professional football. And
Yeah.
that's sort of the thing with the Texans. this year where like, Jerry Hughes still there, Sheldon Rankins is still there, you know what I mean? Like Will Anderson, despite probably they gave up a little too much for him, honestly. He's gonna be a great like DN, Denzel Perriman. Like these are guys who are pros, like they are, Jimmy Ward. Where I think this defense with D'Amico Ryans is gonna be like
I
last year.
do love D'Amico.
Right, exactly. Last year their offense was dead last in like most categories. And I don't know exactly where their defense was, but I mean Levy Smith is a fine defensive coach, but D'Amico Ryans was, you know, has led the best defense over the course of the last couple of years. Again, he doesn't have necessarily the personnel that he had, but this defense is going to be like a pro middle of the pack defense. Like they're not going to be bad. And I think this offense could be like top 20. So just with those two things, like I think both of their floors are sort of higher than, yeah, I guess it depends on if CJ Stroud is just horrible, he's horrible, then whatever. But I think both of these maybe because of the O line and because D'Amico Ryans and a whole bunch of just vets on the defense, I think with those two combinations that their floors are going to be pretty high because again, this O line is great and or maybe not great, but they're definitely like a very competent top half of the league O line. With a defense that again just kind of seems like a lot of vets, a lot of competent guys.
Yeah, I think I honestly am gonna side with the Colts. I think they're very close. The whole like Jonathan Taylor holdout bad vibes from the owner that's always there. Some struggles in the secondary. Definitely, I think I would have said that more confidently a month or two ago. But I do really like Shane Steichen coming in, pairing with Anthony Richardson after the work that he did with Jalen Hurts. And I really just think that with the rushing ability of Anthony Richardson and assuming Jonathan Taylor, I think that just baseline of a rushing backbone offense is going to create less times of just immovable offense that is
Sure.
inevitably going to happen with a rookie quarterback. And I think the Texans are going to suffer from that. The Texans, although I think they made roster improvements just because of the fact that they have CJ Stroud and a rookie quarterback, there's going to be times I honestly think where the offense is worse this year than it was last year. Because
Mm.
Davis Mills is competent. Is he better than like a good backup? No. Is he like the 30th best quarterback in the NFL? Probably. Is there going to be weeks where Stroud struggles like rookies are going to do, and
Yeah.
Mills is technically the better option for that week, although not better for long-term plans? I think so. So I think I would have the Colts ahead of them for this year,
Yeah.
but like I said, very close.
I
How would
think
you rank it this year, Jags Titans? Because
uh
obviously there's two tiers here.
yeah, Jags Titans.
Um,
How would I rank it this year? I like I'm talking we talked about the Titans a while back. I don't remember what the context was in one of our previous podcasts, and I was kind of hating on the Titans. I was kind of saying like they're over the hill, they're washed, but like the more I look at it, the more I think about it, I'm kind of talking myself into the Titans a little bit. Um,
I've been doing that a lot lately, I think.
and I don't know if it's just because I'm like bored. Um, Ryan Tannehill, uh, when he was out last year, this offense was anemic. Hey, can I say something? Malik Willis almost beat the Chiefs last year. Not because of his play,
Not
but
because
because
of him, but
yeah, not because
that's how well coached this team is.
yeah, I know that's what I'm gonna say. Is this defense, not just his defense, his entire team is incredibly coached. Derrick Henry still bangs, absolutely still bangs.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins, at this point, he's still like a top 15 receiver. I would argue probably at least. And
That was
then
the big piece was it's like the receivers are so bad.
yeah,
But having Hopkins and then not having to count on Traylon Burks to be your number one and just allow him to develop freely, this team isn't going to win the Super Bowl.
no,
But Mike Vrabel, they had a chance to win the division last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did.
What did it come down to
Josh
Dobbs
Dobbs.
week 17?
Yeah, yeah, Josh Dobbs. They played Saturday night, I think, for the division, and
Wasn't it against the Jaguars?
yeah, they threw a pick six. No, I'll look it
Yeah,
up.
something like that. But like that's what I'm saying. Like with everything that went on last year and how anemic it was, they're still that well coached. This defense is great. And now they signed Hopkins. This is a very like you're not getting the Titans on a schedule and being like, oh, that's a win, like that's an easy week at all. And I think the Jaguars, I always struggle to whenever a team gets hyped up to like immediately like throw them up there. And I feel like ever because of how hyped up Trevor Lawrence has been his whole career, and because of the way they finished the second half of last year, they were the obvious add Calvin Ridley, boom. I think if Calvin Ridley never got traded to the Jags, I would be picking the Titans to win this division. He is the biggest X factor in this division by far. I think he could explode for the Jaguars, but he also hasn't played football in like 2 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, I'll correct myself. It wasn't a pick six. It was a fumble six with 2 minutes and 51 seconds left in the game. They gave the Jags.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the thing, yeah, you touched on it. He hasn't played football like in a long time. We saw in the
Obviously
preseason.
didn't play last year and then played was hurt the year before.
Yeah, we saw in the preseason game he got blown up on a bubble screen. I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains. I've seen a lot of people kind of say like, oh, like Trevor Lawrence is in a system now, kind of conducive to kind of let him shine, and I don't disagree, but I also just think these weapons are kind of like, eh. Like, I guess it depends on what Kelvin Ridley is. Like,
Right. He's the X factor.
Evan Ingram is a great pass catching tight end. Like, Zay Jones is like fine. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Serviceable.
yeah, he's
He's a good
serviceable.
3 if Calvin
Yeah,
Ridley is like a stud 1.
yeah. But I think that's so much to ask of a guy who hasn't played in so long, who has never played with this offense, who's never played with Trevor Lawrence up until this preseason. So
Right.
I, I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains early on where we might see kind of, some not, trust from Trevor Lawrence just
Yeah.
because it's
I
like
think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to come down to week 17, 18, whatever the heck they play. And I think right now, if a gun to my head, I'm saying the Titans are going to win, but that could be really stupid if Calvin Ridley just goes out and has 1,500 yards and they light the world on fire.
yeah.
Their ceiling is way higher than the Titans.
I'm gonna take the Jags sort of for that reason.
Yeah.
Again, I'm kind of talking myself more and more to the Titans. I think the Titans, they're just so like it's sort of the thing. It's like they're always in games. They're gritty as hell. Like they had like the most injuries in the league the last 2 seasons and still like we're in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
Um
They're the 1 seed 2 years ago.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and last year it came down to the last like it's insane, but Trevor Lawrence was really good the back half of last
Yeah,
year.
he was.
He was incredible. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He kind of was started to put in that upper echelon of like, oh, is he a top, 6 or 7 guy, which I think you could definitely argue at this point. And I would imagine he's going to just keep working on that, going to keep growing on that. And some of the like last year they were what 2-5, 2-6, something like that. Even if they are bad, just because Trevor Lawrence is so much better now than he was at the beginning of last year, even if they are growing pains, they might be instead of 2-6 at the halfway point, 4-4. And then at that point, go on a run, kind of like they did last year. So I'm gonna go Jags, and I think a lot of that hinges on like Trevor Lawrence is gonna still be that dude and keep growing.
Right. And I don't blame you for that take in the slightest. In my opinion, the way I see this going in the next 2 years is the Titans really give them fits this year and, maybe like win a game late at the end of the year to win the division because they're so well coached.
Right.
Lawrence still younger. And then next year is the year that Lawrence like thrust himself into like top 5 conversation.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's going to take a 1 year buffer, really get Calvin Ridley acclimated, and then full steam ahead. Because
What
I
do
do
you
think this defense still has some things to work out. They're really hoping Trayvon Walker can develop. He's like a really good run defender right now, and not a good pass rusher.
Yeah.
If he can develop, I think in this 2 year window, I think the Titans still have the edge right now, and maybe they don't have the edge. They're not a better team come end of the year this year, but they might just like, December football
Yeah.
at the edge this year. But next year, I think it's the Jags to win.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a chance Derrick Henry like just has too much tread on his tires and
Yep, there's always like that. I'm
that's
banking
that
on one more year.
yeah, exactly. What do you think about Travis Etienne? I'm curious just because it felt like last year, well, it feels like his entire career has just been a kind of a roller coaster. Like his
Yeah.
highs are really, really high, and then there's other games he's just either
He's
injured.
one of those running backs that I feel like is really good, really efficient, but he's one of those running backs that coaches just don't want to give the ball to him too many times. And part of it was maybe because he got hurt in the beginning and he was drafted by Urban Meyer and it's a new coaching staff.
Yeah, that's good.
They drafted a third round running back, I believe, Tank Bigsby from Auburn. So they and you saw JaMychal Hasty
I mean, they also
get a lot of
traded.
third down snaps last year. I think they don't believe in him as a receiver as much as he was kind of billed coming out of college.
They also traded James Robinson once Travis Etienne was like getting all the carries.
Yeah, James Robinson kind of fell off a cliff though.
He did, which was weird
He
because he was.
wasn't good there, and he got cut by like the Patriots like a month ago or something like
It
that.
is.
Like he's not on a team.
Yeah,
Or no, he
yeah.
got some of the Giants, didn't he?
I
Something like that. But he's washed, like he's done. Like he
I think
sucked.
that I think the well, I honestly think maybe you could argue for you could kind of argue for all of these teams, like depending on how it goes, if they're in a playoff hunt, like if come week 8, you're 4-3 and the division leader is 5-2, like and this could go for any team. I think all these teams really, I guess it depends on what D Hop does, like are in the market for like a top receiver at the trade deadline. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like obviously, a guy.
Texans definitely, but they don't really have any draft picks to give up at this point.
Right, and then that's part of it is like what can you give up?
They're
And,
betting on Tank Dell. He's the future.
yeah, yeah, and so I think again, I do think like that it could come down to just like, hey, who manages the season better? So I mean that's definitely
Sure.
obviously part of it. So
Sure. Yeah, so I think I'm all set there, unless you have any other thoughts.
I am very excited to watch this division. One of the more
Me
interesting
too.
divisions, I think.
I'm really excited to see how Calvin Ridley. He's the entire X factor of the division, in my opinion.
I would agree. I would agree. Also, I think DeAndre Hopkins kind of is too, to an extent. Like,
Yeah,
not.
I kept like wanting to push, being more confident in the Titans versus the Jags, and
Yeah.
he was kind of the one final domino that like tipped the scale.
Yeah. Also,
I think I just barely gave him the edge.
Ryan Tannehill might be over the hill. Well,
Maybe.
we never know. But all right, we'll do a little immaculate grid, huh?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's finish this out.
Let me
You want to share your screen so I can see
share
it?
my screen. Yeah. Whoa, what's happening? Can you? Oh, I have to. What's going on? All right. I have a little technical difficulties on my end for some reason.
That's all right. No one watches this anyway.
Not yet. What is going on? Oh, okay. All right.
I'm gonna just look it up on mine too, so I can see it.
Yeah, that's fair.
You got it?
Let's find out. All right. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Yeah, there you go.
I've not done this today.
Do this. Are we going for speed?
Yeah, I mean we have 8 minutes left on the Zoom, so
All right, we'll go for speed.
All
Steelers, Super Bowl champ.
nice word.
Hines Ward. Packers, James Starks.
Broncos, Aqib Talib.
Sure. Wait, did he?
Wait, yeah, that's actually a good point. Did he?
I think he was on the Super Bowl team.
DeMarcus Ware. He definitely did. So, okay.
Broncos, Vikings.
You know, did he play for the Broncos?
Who?
Case Keenum?
Yes, but also Latavius Murray for sure.
Oh, okay. 34% got me.
Packers, Vikings. I mean Favre, but let's just go for it.
Yeah, we could do Favre. Vikings, Steelers. Could be Pat Peterson, but he hasn't played an actual game for the Steelers.
Yeah, he hasn't played yet.
Brian Flores.
I'm pretty sure Mike Wallace played on the Vikings.
That
Maybe?
sounds right.
I'm not 100% sure.
We'll come
Steelers
back.
Cardinals is Rashard Mendenhall.
Oh. Good point.
Packers Cardinals. I'm pretty sure. I think like Jeff Janis or something, but
I think you're
not
just
worth that risk.
a big game against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think I'm. Yeah.
Matt Flynn ever played for the Cardinals?
I don't know. What about Broncos Cardinals? Anything coming to mind?
Broncos Cardinals. Did Osprey ever play for the Cardinals? No. I think so. Gonna hit a bit of a roadblock here. Broncos, Cardinals.
Very weird pairing of teams.
Matt Prater.
That's right. Let's go.
Packers, Cardinals. Packers, Cardinals. The Packers and the
Was there like an old edge rusher on the Packers that played for the Cardinals too?
Most likely.
Like BJ Raji or something like it.
Finishes
on Cardinals.
Around the Cardinals. I haven't said he never played, but I don't remember. Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers. Why can't you do coaches? Stupid.
He hasn't coached a snap yet.
Technically, yeah, I guess he hasn't. Do you think? How confident are you on Mike Wallace? Because Mike Wallace definitely played for.
I would say I'm 60% sure.
60%. I will go Mike.
Like Wallace. Obviously, he played on the Ravens, which is purple. So I don't know if that's like messing with me.
All right, we'll come back to it. Because I'm talking myself into it.
I feel like I regret.
All right, we'll go Mike Wallace. Nice.
Let's go.
Packers, Cardinals.
44%. Cardinals, Packers. That famous game is really messing with my head.
Yeah, same. And they've had a couple.
Didn't Kurt Warner play on the Cardinals? Or the Packers?
He played.
Wasn't it like his first stint?
No, Giants.
Like when he like he probably didn't play a snap. But I feel like I remember. I think I watched the movie. I swear, like the first team he goes to is the Packers in like their training camp. He might have gotten just like cut.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you ever play? Did you play regular season?
He wouldn't have played a snap, but I'm gonna look that up. We're not gonna use him.
No, yeah. Colt McCoy?
Yeah, he was signed by the Packers in 1994. But released before the regular season.
Did Ryan?
And that's when he played in the Arena League.
Ryan,
so he wouldn't count.
I'm trying to think of receivers. Did Jordy Nelson ever play anywhere else?
He played on the Raiders.
James Jones definitely played for the Raiders.
Yep.
All right, we got a speed run.
How much time we got?
3.5 minutes.
Crap.
We gotta-
If we run out of time, I guess Kurt Warner, we'll see if it works, but it's not going to. Bro. Did like John Kuhn ever play on the Cardinals?
I don't think so, but maybe. Maybe, I don't know.
All right, we're gonna guess him at the last second.
Why?
If we run out of time.
John
How much
Elway?
How much time we got?
2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Charles Woodson never did it, right?
I don't think so. This shouldn't be this hard.
It really shouldn't.
Oh my gosh.
Did like Reggie White play on the Cardinals?
He was the Eagles and Packers.
God, this is
Maybe
horrible.
Jeff Janis. Like, I don't know. Maybe.
Did like Chad Greenway like randomly play a season on the Cardinals? He was on the Vikings. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm thinking of like
Clay Matthews,
a Hawk.
AJ Hawk. No, I don't think AJ Hawk ever played for that. Cardinals. Yeah, Cardinals have just been kind of a boring team for a long time.
What about Demarius Randall? That low-key sounds right.
All right.
Damn it.
All right, let's speed run basketball. Actually,
Can we just all right.
Rondo. Oh, Rondo could have also worked here. Kyrie Irving probably did, right?
Yeah, he had to have.
Lowry.
Yeah.
George Hill.
Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton definitely.
Suns, Pacers, Jermaine O'Neal.
Nice.
Raptors, Suns, PJ Tucker.
Nice.
Celtics, Suns, Isaiah Thomas. Lakers, Raptors, Marcus Gasol. There's gotta be someone easier. I'm pretty sure he played on the Lakers.
He definitely.
Yeah, he definitely did. Right?
All right, Pacers. Pacers, Lakers.
Lance Stevenson.
Huh?
Lance Stevenson. Let's go. Go back to football. I want to see what worked.
Oh, okay. We have less than a minute.
Oh shit.
I'll see if I can get it up in time. This one?
All right, but we'll end it here. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate y'all.
Peace out from the STR pod. Start the
Follow us
rebuild.
on